Okay, so today I want to talk about why it is that a neurodivergent child might seem fine at school, but then it all falls apart at home. This is the issue of masking, and we need to understand what it is, why it happens, and why a child who looks like they're coping are not always thriving on the inside. I'm Charlotte MacDougall, a neurodivergent specialist, former school leader, and founder of Nurture and Thrive, where I help parents and schools better understand and support neurodivergent children and teens. So, masking. A child might be following instructions, achieving at school and doing everything that's expected of them, but appearing fine and feeling fine are not always the same thing. And by its very nature, masking is hard to spot. So I'm going to explain what it is, make clear the actual cost of masking, and describe what we can do to support the unmasking process. So the first thing that we need to understand is the mask itself and why it is that people do this, particularly neurodivergent people. Human beings are wired for belonging. Now, we all adapt ourselves at some point or another for different situations, and we might behave differently at work or with friends or somewhere unfamiliar. But for neurodivergent people and children in particular, this adaptation goes much further. They may spend their whole day monitoring themselves, suppressing natural responses, and performing to meet the expectations of people around them, particularly in the school environments where there's already a great deal of pressure to perform. Now, this might look like copying others, rehearsing conversations, or going out of their way to people please. Equally, it might look like suppressing sensory discomfort and stopping natural movements or holding emotions in. Or it might simply just look like pushing through when they're faced with confusion, overwhelm, or exhaustion. And this is why masking can be so difficult to notice, because from the outside, everything looks normal and they appear to be coping, even if we know that they're neurodivergent. So the second thing that we need to do after we've understood the concept of masking and how it can present is understanding the need to recognize the cost that this masking is having. Because masking can show incredible skill and adaptation and determination in many ways. But for many neurodivergent children who've worked extremely hard to understand what's expected of them, they are trying to find ways to manage these expectations, and that takes energy. So we need to ask how much energy is left. You know, if there is this constant performance, it's going to affect these three things. Firstly, capacity. How much energy is left for everything else in life? Learning, experiencing relationships, all of the good stuff of life. So there's very little capacity left for anything else. But slightly more complex than that, we have to look at identity, because when you spend so much time being someone else, you start to wonder and doubt who you even are. Are you the mask, or are you the person suppressing or hiding underneath it? And then thirdly, there's the cost to well-being, because just believing that you have to adapt yourself to be accepted, over time, this can shape how you see yourself. Now, the third step is about supporting their sense of belonging and the ability to unmask. Unmasking does not mean never adapting, because we all have to adapt sometimes. But unmasking is about helping children understand themselves so that they know when they are intentionally adapting for a particular purpose, or when actually they're putting a lot of energy into hiding their fundamental authentic self in order to fit in because they feel that they have to. So to help children with this, we need to encourage them to notice the following things. First of all, encourage them to notice what drains them, because the things that drain you are an indication of potentially masking. Likewise, notice what energizes you. When does my body feel at ease? When do I feel that I'm able to let down my guard and stop thinking through every single response? Because noticing these things helps you distinguish between fitting in and belonging. Now, fitting in is different. Fitting in is changing yourself to feel accepted, and it's draining. Whereas belonging is this sense of self-acceptance. I understand myself, I accept myself. This is where I'm at ease, perhaps even energized. So distinguishing between these two ideas of fitting in and belonging in terms of assessing where your energy is going and when you're feeling drained and when you're feeling energized is a really important step in helping children and neurodivergent people generally recognize when they are masking. So the key point here is recognizing that coping isn't meant to be the end goal. We want better than that. So neurodivergent children need to understand who they are, how their brain works, what they need, and how to create an environment around themselves that allows them to thrive on their own terms. That's how we change the narrative from what's seen to be wrong to what's very much possible for young neurodivergent minds. Now, if you found this helpful, you can find more articles and resources on my Nurture and Thrive website at www.nurtureandthrive.co.uk. You can also join my ND Notes newsletter in the link below, where I share weekly insights for supporting neurodivergent children and teens. Or you can come along and be part of my community on social media. I hope to see you there.